Learning English is not just about memorizing words and grammar rules. It's a journey filled with challenges, frustrations, and breakthroughs. Many learners start with excitement, but soon realize how difficult it is to master a new language, especially when it is not spoken in their environment. Today, I want to share the story of one of my students, a young man who faced incredible struggles to learn English. His journey is a powerful example of dedication, patience, and resilience, and I hope it inspires you to keep pushing forward in your own journey to fluency. Let's call him Samuel. He was born and raised in a small town where English was almost non-existent. The local schools only offered basic English lessons, and there was no real opportunity to practice speaking. The only exposure he had was through English songs and TV shows, but without proper guidance, he could barely understand more than a few words. Like many learners, he could read and write simple sentences, but struggled to speak fluently or understand fast conversations. Despite his challenges, Samuel was passionate about learning English. He had dreams of studying abroad and expanding his opportunities. However, his surroundings did not support his ambitions. His friends and family spoke only the local language, and finding an English-speaking environment was nearly impossible. Without practice, his progress was painfully slow. One day, Samuel received a scholarship to study in California, USA. It was a dream come true. He imagined himself making new friends, excelling in his studies, and finally becoming fluent in English. But when he landed in Los Angeles, his excitement quickly turned into fear. The moment he stepped into the airport, he realized that real-world English was nothing like the textbooks. People spoke too fast, used slang, and had different accents. Ordering food at a restaurant was a struggle. Asking for directions was embarrassing, and trying to introduce himself in class was a nightmare. His confidence shattered within days. Samuel quickly realized that knowing English in theory was very different from using it in real life. In his first few weeks, he barely spoke because he was afraid of making mistakes. Every time he tried, he felt like he was being judged. Even when people corrected him kindly, he felt discouraged. To make things even harder, Samuel had to work in a cafeteria to support himself financially. His job required him to talk to customers every day, but he often froze in fear when someone asked him a question. People would get impatient when he struggled to find words, and sometimes they even switched to hand gestures because they thought he didn't understand anything. It was humiliating. There were nights when Samuel cried himself to sleep. He felt like giving up, thinking he would never be able to speak fluently. He considered quitting and going back home. One day, after a particularly difficult shift at work, Samuel decided that he had two choices: continue being afraid and struggle forever. Face his fear and start learning English the right way. He chose the second option. Instead of avoiding conversations, he forced himself to speak as much as possible. He stopped worrying about grammar perfection and focused on getting his message across. Samuel also started using a new learning strategy: immersion. He surrounded himself with English every single day. He changed his phone settings to English, started watching English movies without subtitles, and listened to English podcasts while commuting. He even started thinking in English. Instead of translating from his native language, he tried forming sentences directly in English. Making friends. The power of conversation. Another big turning point came when he made a group of native English-speaking friends. At first, it was intimidating. He felt awkward and self-conscious, but his friends were patient. They encouraged him, corrected his mistakes in a friendly way, and helped him understand cultural expressions. Through these friendships, he gained confidence and learned real, everyday English, not just textbook phrases. He started understanding idioms, slang, and humor. Instead of memorizing vocabulary lists, he picked up words naturally through conversations. Overcoming listening challenges. One of Samuel's biggest struggles was understanding fast speech. At first, native speakers sounded like they were speaking in one long, continuous word. But he found a solution. He started listening to slow English podcasts. This helped him get used to common words and pronunciation. He watched English shows with subtitles, then rewatched without them. This helped his brain recognize words at full speed. He listened to the same audio multiple times. The first time, he only understood 50%. The second time, he understood 70%. By the third time, he understood almost everything. After months of doing this, he started to understand conversations more easily.
One day, something amazing happened. Samuel was working at the cafeteria when a customer asked, "Hey, how's your day going?" Without thinking, Samuel replied, "Pretty good. Just a bit busy, but I'm enjoying it." The customer smiled and continued the conversation, and for the first time, Samuel didn't feel nervous. He had just spoken naturally, without overthinking. From that day on, he realized that fluency wasn't about perfect grammar, it was about confidence and practice. After 1 year of dedicated learning, Samuel could have conversations without fear, understand native speakers easily, express his thoughts clearly, use slang and idioms naturally, write essays with confidence. He was no longer the shy student who was afraid to speak. He had transformed into a confident English speaker. Samuel's story teaches us an important lesson. Learning English is not about talent, it's about persistence. If you are struggling, remember this. Mistakes are part of the process. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner. Fear is your biggest enemy. The more you speak, the more confident you will become. Immerse yourself in English. Surround yourself with the language every day. Listen, speak, read, and write. Use all four skills to improve faster. Think in English. Stop translating from your native language. It won't be easy. There will be days when you feel frustrated, but if you keep going, you will succeed. So, final question to you is this. Are you ready to stop being afraid and start speaking English confidently? If this story inspired you, share your own struggles in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more motivation and English learning tips.